Well, there was a thing popping around on X Twitter the other day, and it was so
X, in brackets, formerly Twitter.
Twitter, but you still call it tweeting,
Yeah.
although Elon doesn't want it to be called tweeting, but good luck. That's the
Xing.
product you brought.
Is that what he wants? Xing.
Yeah.
I'm
Right,
Xing you.
Yeah. Anyway, and this concept of Africa time, and there was this young sub-Saharan lady who's sort of explained it, and I have a very particular I have very strong feelings on what she said. So I actually just got the transcript on her little short, because in the best faith way possible, I want to not paraphrase and just sort of lay her argument out, and then I can crush her. In many African societies, the concept of the future doesn't exist. Instead of time moving forward, it actually moves backwards. This idea comes from the work of John Mibdibi, one of Kenya's and Africa's greatest philosophers. It's not an oxymoron. In 1969, he wrote something that completely reimagines how we think of Africa time. Mibdi says, time is a two-dimensional phenomenon with a long past, a vibrant present, and virtually no future. Using Swahili words, he described the two dimensions of time, Sasa and Zumani. Sasa is the now and the recent past and the immediate future, which can be experienced. Zamni is the vast and endless past where all events will eventually go to live forever. The future in African thought barely exists because time is made up of events. Time has to be experienced to be real. Since we can't conceptualize events tied to the distant future because they haven't been experienced yet, and the future cannot constitute part of time. This is why, according to the East African Bantu languages Mibdi studied, there is no word to describe the distant future. In Africa time, events create time, seasons, ceremony, conversations. These moments produce time, and people produce as much time as they need. For example, in the communities Mibdi studies, a year is measured based on 4 seasons, 2 dry seasons and 2 wet seasons. A year is only ever over when those 4 seasons have taken place. It could take 365 days or 390 days. It doesn't matter how many days are in a year. What matters is that the 4 seasons have occurred. This contrasts with the Western view of time, where time is a commodity, something that could be spent, saved, wasted, or lost. Mibdi explains that when foreigners come to Africa and they see people sitting under a tree, they might remark, "Why are these people wasting so much time?" But in the African thought, sitting under a tree isn't wasting time, it's either waiting for time or producing time. This Western idea as a commodity drives the obsession with progress, development, and some promised future. This difference shapes everything from politics to economics to how we live our daily lives. In African thought, the golden age isn't the future, it's the Zamani. The future is only a shadow until it reaches the present and then flows into the Zamani, and in this way, time moves backwards. We are not the ones who move forwards in time. Mibdi wrote this from a theological point of view to explain the nature of African religion. Quotes, "My main takeaway from parts of the book I've read is that unlike Western cultures and religions with the end of world myths, African time has no end. Seasons, years, birth, marriage, death. It's all a cycle."
Right.
Now, I think that's completely fucking retarded.
Go on.
Give me your thoughts, because I just thought I'd get that out of the way really quickly. Backward. Go on.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is the first time I've heard about this as a concept. But I mean, it makes sense, I guess, that different cultures would have different ideas about or different ways to conceptualize things like time or whatever.
I mean, the cyclical nature of the season thing, like the year is not over until you've had, I guess for us it'd be like, summer,
seasons,
autumn, winter and spring. Then you've got the 2 wet and 2 dry cycles. Okay, sure. It's not the end of the year until Santa comes and then plus a week,
Until Santa comes and then fireworks off Sydney Harbour. Then that's the year.
That's it. Woo! Mum and Dad are counting down. You've never seen, or really ever watched any Star Trek, right?
No, but I'd love to see how you're connecting sub-Saharan African thoughts on time to Star Trek.
Well, they're not in the Star Trek future. There's a line in one of the movies, and it's not one of the better ones, but it's like, time is the fire in which we burn, but like, it's the idea of like time is the most valuable thing you've got. Now you can argue like time might not exist, it's just objects in space, and the future isn't real and you have to experience it, but you're gonna die. The sun's coming up tomorrow. You don't need to know that we're orbiting the sun, it's a big ball of gas and all of that. I mean, like, Apollo pulling the sky chariot across the sun across the sky is just as accurate. So you can plan for the future, and it's you can choose to spend it however you want. But once it's gone, it's fucking gone, and you are not bringing the future closer.
But that's exactly what she was saying. That's a Western way to think about it.
Yes, and the Western way is the correct way. Like, it's just like, if you're just sitting under a tree, or you don't. Sorry, I'm all fizzed up.
But I mean, another way to put it, like in Eastern thought, so like in Buddhist thought or something, they might phrase it: the past and the future don't exist, and you're living in the eternal now. But I think because I'm not a philosophy.
A philosophologist.
I'm not a philosophyologist. I'm a historyologist. So the interesting thing for me is not necessarily like the, let's say, the nuance of which view is correct or incorrect, but how this sort of relates to how history unfolds. Often think about it in terms of like geopolitics and like, resources and things like that, but I don't think ideas like this are generally discussed very much. So, like, why did you? I guess she's using this to explain why did Europe develop, or progress in a way it did, whereas Africa did not.
Well, I don't know, I'll just throw a dart at the board and just as good guess why Europeans think one way and the sub-Saharans think a different way. And it's like, well, if you don't have to deal with winter coming, right? And you can just sort of like chill out and like, well, you don't need to be like, oh, well, I need to like collect all my, make my food, use my spring and summer really efficiently, because then you're going to have, 3 to 6 months of, no food and cold and terror and stuff. Yeah. And the people who think in African time would have fucking died. And so when you have the European mindset of like, and sort of that extrapolates to like, oh, and now we're going to build a really big chapel to, the glory of God or whatever, and it might take, generations to build, and, then we need to conceptualize it and then build the tools, and at the same, and then you get to Africa and everyone's just sort of hanging out under a tree and, just sort of waiting for time to happen. It is kind of like, guys, come on, what are you doing? What are you doing? I keep having to saying like sub-Saharan Africans, because I'm not like accusing the Egyptians of not being able to plan into the future.
Yeah, they just built the pyramids and they're just like, oh, I wonder what we're doing.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
just got to lay my one brick and then what's this all for? Don't know.
Whereas, and look, I just prove me wrong, right? Maybe it's not my area of expertise, but the sub-Saharan cultures are the oldest civilizations on the planet, and you're not really pointing to pyramids and cathedrals and.
I hate to pull a Jordan Peterson on you, but
Well, it's more complicated.
it depends what you mean by civilization.
I don't know what I fucking mean by civilization.
Generally, the first civilizations arose in sort of the Fertile Crescent.
Right. Okay. So I guess in this range, if like you can have like a king and a thriving slave market and go to war with other tribes, I guess I'm saying civilization in the sub-Saharan sense.
Right.
Sorry, not sorry. Got all fizzed up.
Yeah, you did. I can see that.
But it's like
your jacket's gone already.
Oh God, no. But I mean, like, I think it is useful. Like, I mean, I'm not saying what they're saying is wrong. Like, I don't know if the future exists or the past never happened or whatever. But things happen obviously in an order, and there is a chaos to that order. I'm not saying it's all predetermined in that, but I'm like, and then Julius Caesar and Alexander and all of that, they're just in the deep past and where it's always happening and all that sort of shit. It's like, no, this happened and then this happened and then this happened. And if you follow that, you can plan logically. I can see the future. I can see what I need to do. Like, I mean, like, God, my bills are coming up next month. I need to pay my fucking phone. I guess I'm not going to spend, I won't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not going to, it's like bills are coming. Gotta put, get my acorns ready for the winter. And if your whole idea is like, what's the urgency? Because like, really, I'm just, the future, just don't worry about the future, man. It's just, I'm making the future happen by experiencing the present. And it's like, yeah, you are.
I don't really understand what your problem is. Like, because you basically like say, what she said about the Western thing is, I agreed with that.
Yeah.
I think planning for the future is awesome. But then if you ask a sub-Saharan African about all this, they might say, well, I think planning for the future is done, and you devote all this energy and time to it for something that doesn't even exist yet. And
yeah, but it will. It's like, we're planning this, videoing this on a Sunday. I know Monday's gonna happen, and it'll happen again and again and again. We're heading out of the winter. But it's spring. I can start planting my veggies in the garden,
Yeah.
And then I'll have a really great summer where I'll have like a garden full of shit and be like, yeah, I'm really glad I did that, Whereas...
But that's also assuming in their climate that they live in.
Oh, and that's totally why I get it.
It's possible to do all those things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why something like this developed, because it's not actually possible to have, say, a summer and winter harvest, and they just literally don't have the plant life to be able to support that.
It's okay to think that way, like I don't blame, our Spaniard friends for having a siesta. It's really fucking hot in the middle of the day, okay? I get it. And I might come across as lazy, right? But just, God damn it. I think it's it's wrong-headed, and just keep it to yourself.
Pretty sure they do.
Well, this woman wasn't, and it really fizzed me up.
The Twitter post got you all riled up. Shocking development.
Yep. And, I didn't want to, I genuinely went to the effort to get the transcript. I didn't want to, speak out of turn in that, but, God, it just made me so fucking angry.
So just to summarize, you're not disagreeing with what she said. You're not...
No, well, I understand why she thinks that.
Essentially, you agree with what she said, and this Kenyan... What was he? A Kenyan scholar? A Kenyan guy who writes books?
Philosopher.
Kenyan philosopher.
Yeah.
This Kenyan philosopher. You're essentially agreeing with what he said, but what I'm hearing is that you just don't like it.
No. I don't think we're moving backwards in time. Okay, so maybe that's
I
something.
know you don't think that.
Yeah.
That's what they think.
I know, it's wrong. It's fucking wrong. Okay, like, entropy is coming, right? It's not going backwards. I'm running a bit hot. I didn't come up with this analogy, but I heard someone on, when I've jumped down this rabbit hole very angrily, one of the examples is like, oh, so it's just, they're like Mario, right? So you got your Super Mario back on the Super Nintendo, right? And you can move him across the screen, and as he moves right, the world appears before him. But you can just as easily not move at all, and then the future, their direction doesn't happen. I'm like, right, okay, cool. Africa's Mario time. Great.
Why does it not upset you as much to hear that a Buddhist say, just an example, or some of these Eastern ones?
Because it wasn't a TikTok video that I saw. That's why. That's why. Okay. I asked April today. I'm like, oh, does the Eastern mindset have anything like this? And she was like, oh, don't know. This just seems really crazy to me. Like, okay, cool. Probably should have researched it. But even when you were talking about the Eastern philosophy, and right, I should have, the past and future don't exist. It's just the continuous present. Kind of pisses me off as well. Because I'm like, well, why fucking do anything?
Now, because this is a historyology show, we'll have to link this to history somehow.
That's why they have no history, and it's basically like our Indigenous friends talking about the dream time. It's like,
but if they have an eternal past, wouldn't that be history?
Yeah, I guess, but not if they're not writing it down. Yeah. And spoiler alert, they didn't. I'm not going to say anymore.
I wonder, just out of interest, if I've never read about this, but if our local mob, if I can call them that, if I can call, anyway, you know what I mean.
You're extending the leash for me later. Yeah, go on.
If the Aboriginals would have a similar concept of sort of the eternal past, but no future, because I remember in school when you'd read about like their Dreamtime stories and things like that, it was always like a past, like the great snake sort of did this and did that, and that's how this sort of developed. And
there was no water because the big frog went and gobbled it up.
All that sort of stuff. But there was never any stories about, this is going to happen and then the world's going to end.
Yeah.
It was always the Dreamtime was, as far as I can remember and understand, the Dreamtime was in the past.
Yeah.
It was never in the future.
It was like the eternal part, yeah. And that's, look, there's an interesting point in there, and again, that's why I wanted to read it verbatim. I guess they don't have an end of the world myth, and I guess the modern end of the world, the European end of the world myth for the last 2,000 years has been like Revelation, right?
Yeah.
And the new end of the world myth is just, it's atrophy, it's heat death, it's the sun expanding, it's global warming, whatever. It's the end of the world. The end is always nigh. I guess if you don't have an impending doom, you don't have fire lit under your ass to get things done.
Could be. I did just have an interesting thought on that as well, like with the Aboriginal stuff. I wonder if, say, uncivilized societies, so people that, or unurbanized.
No, you're right. You're right the first time, and I'm qualified to say that because of my uniform. Go on.
Yes, yeah. Did a lot of great civilizing work. But so non-urban societies like tribal societies and that kind of stuff. I wonder if there's something about living in a city or a town or whatever that necessitates some sort of concept of the future. And by the fact that tribal societies obviously don't live in towns, that they don't need a concept of the future, so they don't have one, and they're just sort of going about their day doing, we're going on a hunt or whatever. Like it's not It's not like we're going on a hunt next Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's like we're going on a hunt because we've got no food, so we need food.
Off I go. I got a rumbly tummy, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop until I'm satisfied. Yeah, look, you might have something to that. It's completely fucking barbarous and retarded. I'm sorry. Grow up. I don't know why I got all fired up about it. But, and honestly, I mean, it's like, I read it or listened to it, and then it's like, yeah, I do think you believe that.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I think that answers a lot. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's why Europe's the way it is. And, you know, we were talking about it the other day, and, you know, like how different cultures, you know, the words you use, the different concepts, you know, sort of shape how you think, right? And if you don't have, you know, an apocalyptic myth, then maybe...
Well, if you don't have a concept of the future.
Well, exactly. And, you know, something like if you don't have a concept of maintenance and you have to use 3 or 4 words to try and replicate that as, you know, repair, fix, you know, whatever, then, yeah, I can see all the lovely colonial roads and railways and buildings and post offices and stuff have not been, like, have all turned to shit in the last 100 years. And you can be like, oh, bitter and resentful, like, oh, they just left us crap stuff. And it's like, you know, it's not even your fault. I'm not, like, doing a, like, oh, IQ differences or anything disparaging or mean, and saying the ideas retarded and not necessarily them, but it's like, yeah, okay, if these things are the case, I get it, okay?
Yeah.
You know?
I'll disagree.
Well, you just look at the results, and that's where my retarded thing saying it's retarded comes from. It's like, okay, well, if you want to exist in a forever dream time, you can do that. I would like to be in the society that's knows the future's coming and progress, not progressive in the political sense, but general progress of mankind is a good thing. You know, running water, roads, some sort of government, space travel.
I mean, I've read some interesting stuff that says, well, the idea is that humans had a much happier, more fulfilled, more purposeful existence, say pre-urban societies.
Yep.
And that urbanization puts a variety of different stresses on people.
For sure.
And, you know, so maybe without a concept of the future, you don't get an iPhone or a historyology podcast. That's a big downer.
Boo.
But, you know, without that concept of the future, you might actually be a lot happier.
Maybe, but, you know, without society and all the things that come with it, I mean, like, I don't know, man. I'm sure a fucking bunch of apes sitting in a tree eating yummy bananas all day and going, boo. They're having a great time and their quality of life is much higher than me. It might not, though, because they're probably not as strict on the whole murder thing or rape or, you know, whole family incest and all that. Like, I think the Europeans got a lot of things right. I think that's my point.
Right.
And, yeah, I like, paying bills and, you know, taxation, that sucks, you know. I'm not the biggest fan of, you know, large centralized government, law enforcement, and a lot of cultural things that people are really into at the moment. Not a big fan, right? The whole, I mean, it's like stepping. This is going to totally throw the LGBTQIs under the bus and be like, there's a lot of bullshit going around. You don't have to take it all in. I think you can just, nice things are nice, but it doesn't have to be a shit show. You know? It's like, love me some Roman stuff. I don't necessarily want to be one, you know.
No. So there you go. There you have it. Europeans good. Sub-Saharan Africans, no concept of the future.
Yeah, fucking idiots.